your personal brand has to mirror who you are as a person, but you get to decide as part of your personal branding strategy how much of that you're willing to give away. I think that she has made the mistake in previous years of giving too much away. So I think, when I think about personal branding, we always look at what is the story arc that we're trying to build. And it's not an inauthentic one, right? But we do need to sell a story, because that's ultimately what people buy into. It's how human beings have communicated for thousands of years. There is storytelling. The Bible is a story. The press is a story. The way that we teach children is through stories. Like, everything is storytelling. And I think she and Harry, to be honest, as a brand couple, have made the mistake in previous years of giving too much of their authentic story to the press, which has meant that people can people can perceive them in a way that they can't control. If I, went out there with my personal brand and I released everything to do with who I was, it would not look the way that I would like it to look. It's not going to help me achieve my goals. And I think that's what this ultimately comes down to. What are they trying to achieve by building this brand? Ultimately, it's independence, from what I can see from the outside, from the royal family and their own brand, as a couple. And we've seen that done time and time again with, the likes of the Beckhams and, Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? When the Jay-Z and Beyonce, cheating scandal came out, everyone went, why didn't she leave him? And it's like, well, because they're much stronger as a couple, right? That is their brand, as they are a couple. And I believe the same to be true for Meghan and Harry. They are a brand together. It's not kind of one or the other. But I think you need to look at what the ultimate end goal is, which is build a brand, sell product. That's what they're trying to do with these branding endeavors. And whatever you do as an activity has to align to what that end goal is. So she's trying to shift products, but she's kind of bringing you into the kind of drama of, things that have happened in her family. It may not help her achieve that end goal. So it doesn't surprise me that in recent months, and certainly in kind of predominantly 2024, they've taken a real backseat to that initial narrative that we saw all of through 2023 and the kind of back end of 2022, where they were pushing this narrative of kind of like, we're sort of been the shafted out, with the black sheep of the family and all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't suit what they're trying to sell. They're trying to sell a wholesome, her brand, American Riviera Orchard, is all about family and organic and all of those things. Like, that doesn't fit the narrative that has previously been told of them. So it does feel to me very authentic that they're kind of coming back to source, which is, we're a family. We are a well-to-do family that likes like organic things and like, come with me into my kitchen garden and like, let's talk about a podcast and all of these things, because that's ultimately the goal they're trying to achieve. They're trying to mirror what their audience wants. And that's strategic, absolutely. But is that inauthentic? I don't think so.
I think it's pretty much Meghan practicing what she preaches, because if you followed the advocacy, the charity work, and just herself, and the way she talks about the agency of women or their capacity or capability to do anything they put their minds to, she's always been very assertive about saying that being self-sufficient is something to be celebrated. Women are intelligent, they're capable, and anything's possible. So when you look at her life, that's very reflective of that. So pre-becoming a duchess, then navigating through the stormy weather of being a royal, and now being a non-working royal, she's always had to juggle the nature versus nurture, who she is organically as a person, what she believes in, what she wants to do. And based on the confines of where she's found herself, first as an actress, then as a royal, then functioning outside of the royal family and revisiting her life in America, she always stays true to what she believes in, which is being independent and creating something for herself. So you're not just a glorified Stepford wife, for want of a better term. So it's kind of pretty much, you can expect this from Meghan, and the evolution, unfortunately, has come as a byproduct of kind of culture clash. Because even when she did the TIG, part of the stories she shared about herself that made her so endearing to people were the struggles she had, like the social woes and evolving, being mixed race, being in school where there were different cliques that she talked about. That then transcended to an exponentially more torturous time when she was in the royal family. And now post that, trying to reestablish herself as an individual that happened to have gone through this very public breakdown of a family, both her own and Harry's, and now trying to establish herself as a wife and mother, and also an independent person, free thinking and capable of setting up a business.
I think historically, particularly the royals, right, have shied away from negative press. They really don't like like, you know, people in their business. And I think there's, again, Beckham, same thing, not quite royals, but some people would argue they certainly are my Roman Empire in my business. But there are a lot of couples like that who kind of shy away from kind of embracing the negativity that comes out of that because they feel like it's not a good thing for their brand. I actually think in Meghan's case, it's the total opposite. And I always say with clients that we work with, you know, you have to be willing to be disliked in order to be loved. And I think Meghan is the absolute embodiment of someone who has taken that to real heart and gone, you know what? I don't mind repelling this group of people because they're not going to be the people that are going to spend $30 on my bottle of jam. I don't mind repelling them because they're not the people that are going to be paying my bills. These people over here will be, and they love me because I'm willing to be hated by them. And I think when you get into this realm of influence, and we're all influencers to our own degree. I hate the concept that people talk about influencers being kind of like billboards on Instagram, because we're all influencers. If you convince someone to do something, take an action, you know, be hired, get fired, go on a date, we're all influencing someone in some way. But she's actually worked out a very, very clever way of attracting the people and influencing the people that she's trying to get to take direct action and repelling the ones that she doesn't want to, which is great from a marketing perspective because it means her segmentation is bang on. So anytime she releases something, immediately it's going to sell out because her core audience is so bought into who she is, because she's so willing to lean into that authenticity and go, you know what, I don't mind if everyone hates me on that side of the fence because these core people love me and they're ultimately the ones that are going to buy from me. And I think that's where it kind of comes full circle to this whole strategic piece of what are you trying to achieve with your personal brand? And if it's sales, then you need to be okay with being disliked by a certain number of people in order to be loved by the ones that will actually spend that money on you. And let's be honest, like £30 on a bottle of jam is not exactly everyone's cup of tea. So she needs to build up a pretty strong personal brand in order to kind of shift that kind of product. I think if she plays her cards right, she could be bigger than Gwyneth Paltrow, actually. You've got to look at kind of the facts, right? She was an actress. She's come from a very unaristocratic family, which is already like a great brand exercise, right? She is the American, beautiful mixed race princess who has married the Prince of England, and he's like swept her off her feet. And like, that is just a great narrative, particularly in America, right? Americans love this stuff, and that is where her core audience is going to be. So it's unsurprising that she's called her business American Riviera Orchard, right? Like, it's really playing into that narrative. I think, though, she needs to get really clear on who her audience is. For me, Gwyneth Paltrow's audience is like cool, kind of like maybe like, you know, mid 35s and upwards women who like, you know, who are like a little bit naughty and they don't mind a little bit of an edible, and you know, and so she really embodies that, right? She's a bit of a hippie. She's a rich hippie, but she's a bit of a hippie. Like she does all the things that she promotes. For me, Meghan Markle is the prim and proper, beautiful. Everything's always put together. Like, she's not, you never see her without even like an eyelash out of place. And for me, she sits firmly in the place that, you know, Martha Stewart sits in currently, but will vacate at some point. You know, Martha's been around the block for a very, very long time. And there is now this incredible space, particularly when you see influencers like Nara Smith popping up on TikTok, who are really in this like homemaker, like perfectly elegant, everything is like amazing. There is a real movement towards cottagecore, and, you know, people really want to embrace that kind of like wholesome homeliness that used to be kicking around in like, you know, the 80s and even as far back as the 50s. There is a space there for Meghan to own that category, right? And she's got the springboard to do that. She's got the prince husband. Martha doesn't have the prince husband. She's got this real pedigree now that she's built over the last couple of years of positioning herself as someone who's like organic and is a mom and is a wife and always looks prim and proper, but is still quite relatable to a degree because she doesn't mind talking about, you know, things that everyone can relate to. She's also, you know, a real advocate for women, and she speaks vocally about being an advocate for women. And I just think that there is this incredible moment where she's kind of meeting a meeting of minds between what her life has been like over the last kind of 7 years versus where she's actually going. And that to me is where she's building up that brand equity, is in that pocket of people who are probably diehard royalists, to be honest, like, but can't be because they're probably not based in the UK. I don't imagine she's going to be, certainly for the short term, as much of a success in the UK as she is in America. But neither is Martha Stewart. Loads of people don't know who Martha Stewart is. And Martha Stewart was a billionaire at at one point. So I think she's sitting on this incredible opportunity to position herself as the new Martha, or a better Martha, that looks different, acts different, behaves different, and therefore is going to attract a completely different audience that are probably going to spend a lot of money on her jam and whatever else that she's selling through her Shopify shop.